All right, we're live. I'm on time. Welcome, everybody. A few people here already. Thanks for tuning in. I'm just going to make let some more people come in as we go here. The regular people showing up. I have to increase my chat size so I can see what people are asking because I can't. I think I need new glasses. So hopefully everybody can see me. Pam's here. Let a few more people arrive. Just 5 o'clock. Right on time today. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I don't know if there's any new people here yet, but if it is your first time and you're watching this, maybe not watching it live, but you might be watching the recording that's on YouTube later. Thanks for joining me. We're going to talk about knives today, kitchen knives especially. And obviously, if this is your first time here, we always like when you hit the thumbs up button. And if you're a return guest, we like when you hit the thumbs up button too. So if everybody could do that, we'll get you there. That's great. Really appreciate it. And we'll get on to the show. Thanks for joining, everybody. Christine is here. Tammy is here. Lois. Hey, Lois. Pam is here. And Stephanie's here. And that's all had the chat. So I've had a few questions from people, and I really appreciate when everybody sends me questions in Facebook or wherever, email, asking different questions about the kitchen. So it gives me some ideas for shows. And I know we do talk about a lot of kitchen and, as we're doing recipes with cooking, but I figured what we'll try and do is once a week, instead of doing a recipe, we'll do a quicker episode. I won't keep you for the long time. And we'll talk about maybe some tools, some gadgets and whatnot for kitchen to kind of help making cooking your meals a little bit easier, a little bit more fun. And nothing like starting out with the basics, right? Obviously, your first thing is that you want to do when you start cooking. If you're somebody like myself, when you go to chef school, culinary school, you need your own knife. So I think maybe a lot of people don't know that, but when you're out in a restaurant or a hotel and there's the workers in the kitchen, none of the tools that they use, obviously the machines and stuff like that are provided, but all the hand tools are their own personal tools. So you kind of gather them up throughout the years. People might, at the very beginning, they might buy some, and then as you kind of move along your career, you seem to gather things up, trade with other people, different places, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of neat if you've been in the industry a long time, and if you buy good quality knives, which we'll go through today to show kind of some ones that you want to spend a little bit. Knives are one thing you do want to kind of spend a little bit of money on, because you do get for the most part, do get what you paid for, and something's going to last a long time. Okay. So, good question, Christine. As a business expense, yeah, I think, so now again, it's going to be dating myself here, but I believe you can for tools. Yes. When I worked for a hotel chain. I was with the Fairmont Hotels for, like 15 years or something like that. And we actually had a tool allowance that we had as part of our employment. And each year, if certain tools wore out, or we had to buy new ones, or ones got lost or stolen, whatever, we could submit receipts up to a certain dollar amount each year, and then we get reimbursed on our payroll. So if we, for example, knives, sure, they do wear out, or they get lost or broken, and then we would get reimbursed. So we did that where I work. So I didn't. Obviously, since I got reimbursed, you couldn't claim that on your taxes, but there's probably some way to do it on your other taxes. Good question. That's a really good question, though. So we'll start off. Basically, when you start as a chef, you don't need a lot of knives. And I think maybe people are surprised by that. But so I'll show you what these are only a few of some of the ones that I've gathered throughout the years. A lot of similarities between like the chef knife. So we'll start off basically if you're looking, and if you have questions as we're chatting here, just fill out the chat, and I'll try and answer them as we go or at the end. So when you are first starting out to buy knives, you do want to spend a bit of money. You can go to you want to go to a kitchen store basically to get, or a knife store to buy your knives, or buy them online. The one you want to first start off with, and these are the ones I use most of the time, and these are the ones basically that are kind of like on the top of your toolkit all the time that you're going to be using on a regular basis when you're in the kitchen. The first one, and I do have a few of these just because I gathered them throughout the years. The first ones that you're going to want to purchase, and this should be basically probably the first knife that you want to ever buy, is a chef's knife. And there's some different sizes. This one is one of the larger ones. I believe it's 11 or 12 inch. It's worn off there. I can't remember, but I know the smaller ones are 10. So yeah, it would be 11. So the chef's knife here. This one is a Henkel's. It's from Germany. It's a forged knife. It's quite heavy, and as you can see, it's pretty robust, fairly thick. And I'll compare it to the other ones on there. So the shape of the chef's knife. This is the one you're going to use basically all the time for most jobs, for cutting, chopping, cutting vegetables, cutting meat. You can cut meats with it. It's basically like the number one utility knife is the chef's knife. And the way it's shaped, obviously you'll see me cutting some of the videos. You can really use the knife to chop with, especially if you're chopping for a long period of time. You want a good quality knife, sharp knife, and that's the chef's knife there. This one is, again, it is a Henkel's. Another one as well is this is the very first chef's knife I ever owned. This was given to me by my instructor in high school, actually, when I had to do a work experience. I got because you need your own tools, obviously. I was given a whole knife kit roll of knives, and these are Victorinox knives. These are a little bit cheaper than in general, a little bit cheaper than the Henkel's, because while these ones are forged and in bigger pieces of, like, basically bigger chunk of metal, these ones it's hard to maybe tell on the camera, but these would be basically stamped out. So the blades aren't as, the metal's not as thick, a little bit more flexible, a little bit, so they're just not as high a quality. But these are really, really good knives. They're lighter, so if you're first starting out and you're working a lot, if you're working using a knife all day, if it's a bit lighter knife, you're not going to tire out than holding this that weighs like over a pound kind of thing. These as well, they. Just because they're lighter, I use this one actually a lot more than my other ones, just because I liked using it more. You can see that it's a wood handle. The wood handle's pretty worn out. I don't think they actually make them with wood handles anymore. They do have kind of more of a plastic handle. But same idea, a little bit shorter, and then the same. So you get the same motion, just with the shape of the knife. The difference between the two, also for the metal, is that these Victorinox ones. The metal is a lot softer, so they won't keep the edge as long on your knife as the Henkel's would. Harder steel on these ones, so it holds the edge a lot longer. But that also makes it a little bit harder if you're sharpening. It takes a bit more time because it's harder steel. So there's the chef's knife. This is another version of a chef's knife. This one is a Henkel's as well. Really, the only difference is the handle. The rest is basically this, basically the same, other than the size. Use this one quite a bit too, of the two. So if you're buying a knife, you want to get a chef's knife first. There's different sizes, so if you have a bit smaller hands, maybe you can get a bit smaller one, but don't get the tiny one. You want something big because it gives you the leverage to be able to cut things. Oh gosh, your questions here to answer those. Favorite brand? As the brands, Christine, good question. I would say, in general, I would pick up either, if you're a bit more price conscious, the Victorinox are great, great knives. If you have a bit more money to spend and you want to splurge a little bit more, you could either do the Henkel's, but there is also another brand, and I'll get into it when I get into my paring knives. That is, we can talk about as well, that makes the whole range of knives. Good question though. Is Cutco good? Cutco is kind of a brand. I'm not a big fan of them. A lot of places would have Cutco knives, and they were kind of the cheap knives that would be in a drawer for someone to use that didn't have their own knives. So not the greatest. Okay, I never liked the handle. The biggest thing I found with Cutco knives, the handles, if they got wet, were they would be really slick. So if you're working a lot and your hands are wet or you're chopping, I found it more dangerous. Just didn't like the feel of it. Price point, The Victorinox are a little bit more than Cutco ones. Just go for these. So Christine, yeah, chef's knife. You know what? It's just whatever one I grab. I just throughout the years, you just gather knives. They're all very similar. I would probably I use this one the most often, just because it's lighter. This one's a little bit big and heavy. It's for bigger jobs. This would be good if you're like cutting a big squash in half. You really need to, but if you're using it for more delicate stuff, you want kind of a bit smaller. I was cutting out peppers. I like using the smaller one. Just me. And good question, Lois. Yeah, you shouldn't be putting them in the dishwasher, mostly because they bang around and they'll dull the edge. I'll admit though, I do, because it's just sometimes nice to get them in there to sanitize. Especially you don't want to necessarily put the wood ones in, because they'll dry it out with the heat and the water. But to put the plastic handle ones, it's okay. Just put them on the top and don't let them bang around too much. So that's the chef knife. That every aspiring chef, or you want to buy a chef's knife, but buy a good one. These will last you forever. This one is, I have to even, if I got this in high school, this is from this is like over 20, like almost 25 years old. And it's still like brand new. Basically, the handle's a little bit worn, and the rest as well. This is a 20-year-old, almost a 20-year-old knife. So you spend, a couple $100, it's going to last you forever. So, second one, that kind of the next one you'll want to get in your knife kit is a serrated knife. You'll need these if you're cutting up any kind of bread, or sometimes a lot of times it's quick and easy to grab a vegetable. Serrated knives, you want to have just one is fine. I have a couple just because obviously gathering stuff and collecting stuff. But there's kind of two main kind of styles of serrated knife, I guess would be the best way to explain it. And this is a different brand. This is a Japanese brand. They make actually really nice French knives and chef's knives as well. This is a serrated one. These can be quite expensive compared to some of the other knives, a bit more expensive. They are just a different type of steel mix. But the serrated knife, it's called Global. I don't know if you can see it in the screen. Super sharp knives. They hold their edge very, very well. For the bread knife, it's great. It's really nice for cutting like crunchy bread. So you can get like the serrated, you have the sawing action on there. Great knife. But these are expensive. Probably can't remember how much this would be over $100. Probably when you get now. So, but again, they do last. Another serrated knife. This is probably my favorite knife that I used. I've used it so much that I have to get a new one. I think I mentioned this in a video back. It used to be serrated. You can kind of see the edge there. It used to look like the edge on this one, but I've used it so much that it's actually worn down. I've probably had this for over 10. Oh gosh, this is going on probably almost 15 years old. So it's a Victorinox as well. So the metal is not as hard. That's why it's worn down. But this brand, this Victorinox and this model line are great knives. They're basically the ones that replaced the wooden handles. They replaced with these rubberized handles. They're called Fibrox, and you can still buy these. They are great. They're great knives. This is probably the best. And I've said to Stephanie before, these knives are probably the best, like all round kind of kitchen knife to use for utility. Mostly because of the shape. Now you can't really see on this one, but you'll notice, like compared to this serrated knife is flat all the way along. So you're mostly doing like a sawing motion. This one is a little bit curved, so you can actually use it to kind of chop a little bit more, and it's because it has a similar shape to the chef's or French knife. So this is really kind of neat deal. And these are only about $50, roughly $50 or so. And these are a great knife to purchase for home. Really good for home because the serrated knife is going to keep your edge longer than your fancy chef's knife. And it's a good utility knife to use kind of all the time. Perfect for like cutting a pepper, cutting tomatoes, stuff like that, like vegetables and stuff that are sometimes you need a really sharp knife to do. This serrated one does a really good job. So give that one. Good question, Susan. For some of these knives, if you actually go into the video, I did do a link in the description down below, and there's some links to it on Amazon, so you can see kind of the links. There's also, I know in BC, there's the House of Knives. Those are available there. All these ones, Stephanie. Yeah, I did. They're the same. I mean, they're kind of the same. At the end of the day, I couldn't find, when I was looking, when you would actually message Stephanie, I couldn't find this brand on Amazon. So that was why. But very similar price, similar shape, everything else. So there's 2 good knives. The next one you are going to want to get is this one. Actually, you know what? We'll do that one last, because you need a paring knife first. Because if you can get away with basically a French knife, a serrated knife, and a paring knife, you can do 99% of the work you need to do in a kitchen with these 3 knives. And this is like a utility paring knife. So this is what you would use to cut up, small potatoes or peel some certain vegetables, that kind of stuff. Just a basic. There is a few different types of paring knives you can get. This one. Back to brands. This one is a Trident. It's a German blade as well, similar in price point to the Henkel's in terms of and similar quality. Some people just for whatever reason prefer Trident knives over the Henkel's for whatever reason, but they're very, very similar. The steel is very similar. So paring knife, good little paring knife there. You can also find them. This is the kind of thing you gather when you are in a kitchen working, especially in a hotel or a restaurant, because paring knives always seem to go missing because they're small. So you always seem to buy and have extra. Either extra ones would show up in your toolkit because if someone else thinks it's yours and they put it in there, that's just another style utility knife there. And then there's a Victorinox one there. So they all kind of do the same job. There's don't spend a fortune on paring knife because they're small. They'll go missing. You'll usually be cutting stuff you probably shouldn't be cutting with them because you need to cut open a box or something, so there's no point in spending a fortune. Just get one of the wood handle ones or a plastic handle one. You're fine. Okay. So those are the 3. If you have those 3, you're set. From there, it kind of gets a bit kind of more like specialty in terms of what you would need from time to time. So one of those ones would be you'll see you're probably wondering why some of the knives like that are like the paring knife is curved, and this would be like a turning knife. So what you would use this for, this would make peeling a little bit easier if you're peeling a potato or something like that. But also too, and I could do a demo on this one maybe one day when I get the right vegetables, but these would also use if you've ever been to a restaurant or out for dinner and you see the vegetables that look kind of shaped like a barrel and they're turned and they're round. These are the knives you would use for that. So we used to have to turn and do potatoes or zucchini or carrots. So that's what we use this knife. So pretty specialty because it just the curve. And let's see, dumb question. Can you get a serrated knife sharpened? No, not really. I think, you can go through with a steel, Christine, and kind of do it one by one. They're not really, this one is like, they'll wear out with the serrations before then. What kind of happens is because the blade actually will wear down, you can't really sharpen it anyways. So they'll last you. Like this one has lasted, it's close to 15 years old. So, and it's still okay. This one's getting on longer and used more. So you can see it's worn out more. So, this one is basically ready to go. I just kind of more keep it for nostalgia, I think. But it's ready to go and buy a new one. Peeling a lemon for a martini. Yes, you could use the turning knife for that, Susan. Exactly. Or you could use a lot of times they just use a peeler. Last kind of tools. I used to have a different. There's a couple of different styles of boning knives. So this is basically. I don't use. You're not going to use the boning knife that much at home. You can probably not worry about buying one of these. You can get away with probably using the paring knife for a lot of stuff you're going to use this for at home. This is more a very flexible knife, as you can see, right? Compared to a French knife is not flexible at all. So if you're say, for example, deboning using it for chicken or for fish, that kind of stuff, for scaling fish, because you can it's flexible, and you can take the skin off of the fish, for getting around bones and that kind of stuff in meats and all that kind of stuff. So that's the boning knife. There is other versions that are very similar shape to this, kind of curved, pointed on the end, but there'd be a little bit thicker steel, not quite as flexible. I did have one, but it actually broke, and I just haven't replaced it because at home you don't really need it. It's not something you can get away, if you're deboning something at home, or you're Frenching something on a chicken, taking a bone off the chicken or something, you can get away with it by using just your paring knife to kind of do, because you're only going to be doing maybe one or two pieces for home. It's more obviously for, if you're in a kitchen, you're doing 50 or 100. It makes life easier than using the wrong tool. So that's why you can avoid that. You really just want to get a good French knife. You want to get a good decent serrated knife, and then you want to get a half decent paring knife. You're set. The last little kind of tool I use a lot is this is like more of a fish spatula, I guess would be it's just a more delicate spatula, but it's very handy for if you're it's just a bit more delicate to use. So if you have a piece of fish in a saute pan, this to pick it up, other than the big spatula that you're going to use on a barbecue. So that's kind of a little tool. But those are the main tools that I use. Not a ton. So you don't need to have, like with the kitchen, like you don't need to have a gadget for every little job. These the three knives that you use all the time can get you by basically doing with that, or even that. These knives here, 3 knives can get you through 99% of the stuff you need to do. So you can kind of, if you go to a knife store and you see all the fancy knives, discard a lot of them and just get the 3 main ones. There we go. Commissions on knives. Yeah, I can sell door-to-door knife sales. So, but that's a good lime knife. Yes, Tammy. Tammy sees it for making your lime wedges and cuts for your drinks. It's too good. Christine, good question. Boning knife and fillet knife. Yeah, this is more. So this one is more of a fillet knife. The difference is going to be the flexibility. So fillet knife is going to be definitely a lot more flexible. The boning knife I had is not as flexible, hence why I actually broke it. So it actually broke or crossed. And it's one of the first knives I've ever broken using it, but that's the difference. Boning knife will be definitely heavier duty. You know what? That's the thing. You don't really want and this is the thing, I guess, with prices. Like, you don't have to. You want to spend a bit of money at the beginning, but once you buy good tools, they'll last you forever. And I mean, a couple of these I haven't used in a while. They do need to be sharpened, but once I take them in to get sharpened when I can, they're just like brand new. So if you spend a little bit of money on the tools, they'll last you forever. So you don't need more. And they don't change. The tools really, the basic tools don't change. They're not gadgety, right? They haven't changed in hundreds of years. So whether you buy a French knife or a chef's knife today or 20 years ago, they're basically the same. Sometimes the handle, stuff will change, whereas like the wood, they're not going to do now because the plastic is more sanitary. That's really the only difference you're going to see in a knife. The shapes and everything else is all exactly the same. I need a good can opener. Yeah, I know I don't use it a lot. This is This is just this one is handy. Starfrit. There you go. We used to have can openers at the hotels that were like these big thing, because the cans were the giant big cans. We had this big on the end of a table, slammed down. We had to like crank them open like that to open up these big giant cans. But this is good. This has got a nice handy thing so you can pick out the lid. So handy. But that's it for tools. I mean, other than that, that's nice. We'll do a video on gadgets and stuff, because there is a few little gadgets that you buy and you try, and there's some that are really kind of handy that I'll share maybe in a different video. Electric can opener, lazy. I don't have a ton of tools. That's, I guess, one thing to kind of talk about. Like I don't have a ton of like gadgety. I mean, other than the pot, the Instant Pot there, I don't have a lot of gadgety kitchen tools really, because you buy the basic stuff that can do everything for you. You know, instead of buying a little chopper for chopping stuff up, you can chop up with your knife. It just takes a bit more time to do it by hand, but you're not wasting money on a gadget. Spend the money instead of buying kitchen gadgets. Spend the money on a good knife that'll last you forever and you can use for more things. Oh yeah, Stephanie, it was a Starfrit can opener. Yeah, Jason was here. He's working in the back. But that's it. So if anybody, I don't know if anybody has any questions. Hopefully that was a little bit of knowledge on knives. I appreciate everybody coming along for the live stream. We won't keep it much longer, but I do appreciate everybody coming along. We have, I've started getting and pre-scheduling everything a bit more ahead of time. So if you actually check out my channel, I know most people I'll send a link to on Facebook to see it, but if you do check out my channel, I do have the videos that are,
hey, Stephanie.
The videos that are pre-scheduled for the week ahead of time. So you'll be able to see them, what I'm cooking. So if you want to join in, you can always set a reminder on it. It will let you know when that's coming. Friday, I might change up Friday because we had Pam was so nice that she actually went and got groceries for us today and dropped a whole bunch of fresh stuff off. So I was going to do a recipe, because we have stuff in the freezer with vegetables. I'll maybe just keep it for Friday, but Fridays is how to make frozen vegetables taste good for dinner. So if you want to check out that video on Friday, that'll be a fun one to kind of do. Because yes, you can make frozen veggies, taste good. So we'll do that on Friday. But then also by popular demand, I think Stella's watching. She said she was going to watch today, but we are going to also do Sunday brunch. So I've got Sunday brunch scheduled for the morning. Can't remember the time, but double check the time on the channel. I'm going to cook a weekend brunch. It's one skillet breakfast brunch. So hopefully everybody can kind of join for brunch, maybe grab mimosa or something like that, put it on the TV and just have it play. We're going to have brunch for breakfast, so you can watch along. We'll show you that recipe. So that'll be fun, something a little different. And I think for the channel, I've got a few, because we've got a whole bunch of new fresh produce. So I've got some good ideas. A few people have sent me recipes. So I have the ingredients now to actually try these recipes out. So we'll do either on one of the live videos or we will record a video and edit it all together so you can kind of see the recipe to try it out. And that is it. So hopefully that answered some questions on knives and tools. Yeah, Lois is here. Thanks again for everybody joining in. It's Wednesday today. We've got 11 people watching. So thanks to everybody that joined in. Thanks to everybody that liked it. If you haven't hit the like now before we go. And champagne. Yeah, everybody's got champagne for Sunday, so get that ready. I appreciate everybody that shared the channel. It's great. I've picked up a bunch of subscribers this week, so it's kind of neat. Everybody's sharing for you. So I guess I ask is, if you could share this or my channel to maybe one person that everybody knows that you haven't shared to yet this week, I would really appreciate that. Have them subscribe. It really helps out my channel, and it's great to have new people here. And if they can't join live, they can always see the videos that are posted after. So hopefully that is, hopefully that's some useful. If you guys had questions on knives, is just send me an email or leave a comment on this video after it gets posted. But that's everything. So thanks again for joining us. Have a great night. It's sunny here. sunny here in Calgary. We are going to fire up, I think, the barbecue and have something for dinner. So hopefully everybody else has a good dinner planned. And I'll see you all in the next video. We're going to do the next one posted is going to be Friday, 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 4 Pacific. So thanks for joining us, and don't forget to wash your hands.